So, you know.
There's a new socialism in town.
Yo, the new socialism just
Call
dropped.
it identity socialism. The old socialism, the kind Karl Marx dreamed up, was all about the working class, the sort of blue.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna try not to pause this video as much, but I want to say this. Fuck Dinesh D'Souza. Like, this dude sucks.
Collar worker who, ironically, voted for President Trump. But today's socialist couldn't care less about the guy in the hard hat. He had his chance at revolution and blew it. Today's socialist is all about race, gender, and transgender rights. Class is an afterthought. To understand this is to understand the left's takeover of the college campus.
Okay. No. No. Survey says you're a fucking idiot. No, dude. These people that try to spin this shit, it's what, you know, it's funny. Because they're very nuanced and complex issues, class and race and that. And people like D'Souza know this. Absolutely. But still, they insist on presenting it in a way that's just absolutely ridiculous. Another streamer, and I think I used this example on one of the videos that I watched last time. Hey, what's up, Laney? Hopefully I can provide that. We're off to a good start because PragerU is always great. It's like watching an episode of Black Mirror. But I said it in a recent stream about something similar. Another streamer said it that Oprah is way better off as a black woman than a white dude that's homeless. Just in that regard. Like, they're two different issues, but they are very intrinsic, the class and the race thing. But he's like, class is an afterthought. It's like, motherfucker, no. That's the whole point. Like, class is the point. I mean, that's what we're talking about, you know?
And all the ills that takeover has spawned, from Me Too to Black Lives Matter to girls competing against biological boys.
Yeah, I love that term.
But campus culture has now metastasized.
Oh, Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh D'Souza playing the fucking hits, dog. Campus culture. I love this.
Into the culture of the whole society. As liberal writer Andrew Sullivan has put it, we all live on campus now. Identity socialism is first and foremost about division. Not just class division, but now race division, gender division, transgender division. Blacks and Latinos are in, whites are out.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, division. The left's favorite thing to do, division. That's the one where you try to get everything to be more homogenous or integrated. The concept of division, right? It's funny because what they don't realize they're proposing with these types of arguments is that the white man is the glue which holds all of society together or some shit. They're like, what are they going to do? They're going to get rid of the white dudes? Yeah, okay, sure. Good fucking luck. You know what I mean? It's so weird. It's such a weird perspective.
Women are in, men are out. Gays, bisexuals, transsexuals, transgenders are in, heterosexuals are out.
Based.
Illegals are in, native born.
Can we look at what is called a native at the moment right now? I mean, I know technically this is correct, but can we look at how fucking... Can we look at why, you think? When's the last time you heard somebody use the word native-born citizens and then just show like a white family? Or my best guess of a cartoon is a white family. Dude. Also, shouts out to fucking Dinesh D'Souza for just describing people as illegals.
Born citizens are out. One may think this is all part of the politics of inclusion, but to think that is to get only half the picture. The point for the left is not merely to include, but also to exclude. So where did this identity socialism come from?
Yeah.
Meet Herbert Marcuse. Born in Berlin in 1898, Marcuse fled Germany at the dawn of the Nazi era. After stints at Columbia, Harvard, and Brandeis, Marcuse moved to California, where he joined the University of California at San Diego in 1965. You'd think that living in a paradise like Southern California, with all the comforts and privileges of academic life, might have softened Marcuse's Marx-like hatred of capitalism.
What? I mean, am I missing something? What is college? I think that I may be thinking of the wrong thing. I'm thinking of like university, what they call it, uni in some other countries, you know, schools. Like, you know, it's hardly working in a coal mine. But to ask someone from PragerU, which curiously has adopted a moniker that would suggest very strongly that it's a university, which is in fact, it is not. It's just a fucking resort, basically. That's everybody can go to, and everybody, in fact, is going to. And they're turning everyone gay, I think.
But it was not to be. If anything, the more he prospered, the more he wanted to bring the system down. He had a problem, however, a big one. Socialism didn't work in America. Life was too good. The working class in the U.S. didn't aspire to overthrow the existing order. They aspired to own a home. How could you foment revolution without revolutionaries? Classic Marxism had no answer for this.
What?
But almost 100 years after Marx, Marcuse did. The answer was...
What? Holy fuck. I'm sorry, that was probably loud. Holy fuck, dude. Holy fuck, dude. Can you imagine self-owning yourself that fucking hard and not even realizing it? He's like, nobody gave a fuck about socialism back in the day, you see, because everybody was just, you could afford a house and you, everything was okay. College was extra dope. Everybody could buy a house and things were fucking good. But now, the left pretending they can't afford a home, and that's somehow, now they think that's reason to complain. Like, dude, yeah. I don't know if I could make my own point better than fucking Dinesh D'Souza just did, attempting to refute the point. Like, holy shit, dude, the guy's a wizard.
As college students, they would be the recruits for what he termed the Great Refusal, the repudiation and overthrow of free market capitalism. Conditions were perfect. The students of the 60s were already living in what was in effect a socialist commune, a university campus. Rather than being grateful to their parents for providing them with this opportunity to learn and study, they were restless and bored.
What he just said the 60s, right? I'm gonna check something real quick. My shortcut buttons aren't working, so bear with me while I do this. Okay, researching stuff. Wait, what happened? I'm researching two things right now. They may actually be one and the same stat. So let's see. Okay. For one, I'm looking up the dropout rate. Percentage. And about in the 60s, it looks like it averages to like, I don't know, under 20%, which it's been, that was a high. And the reason I'm looking that up is because of the way that these college students are always painted as, the other thing I'm gonna look up though is tuition in the 60s, because that's probably, so in 1960, the median annual tuition and fees at private law schools, hold on. At law schools was $475. which adjusted for inflation is less than 3,500, Alex. So pretty fucking dope. Oh, actually, that's in 2011 dollars, so it's probably close to 5,000 now because inflation has been going pretty goddamn fast since 2010. Yeah, so let's see. 36% of college students learned little in 4 years. I don't know how they're measuring this. I don't know what. Competitive Enterprise Institute. So I'm going to check at a later date. I want to check the credibility of that source. However, my main point is that his claim that parents were putting people through college like they are now, I'm not sure when that started, but I would hazard a guess. Average yearly earning in the 60s as well. For like minimum wage or some shit. For the whole country, the median income of families in 1960 was $5,600. Which I don't see the inflation calculation for that, but they did not write it down. I don't know, but it was like 6 or 7 times what tuition cost for law school. So, you know, that's kind of my point there, was that like, I don't know. There's a lot of factors. I'm going to see if I can bring them up as points in a minute. I wanted to establish them first.
Most importantly, they were looking for meaning, a form of self-fulfillment that went beyond material.
Oh, that's a better question. How much is it now? A law school degree in 2020. Average cost, maybe? Because it just took me to a bunch of websites for, yeah, $50,000. So more than 10 times as expensive adjusted for inflation as it was in 1960 for like law school. No, that's the annual cost, not the degree. So yeah, a year. It's like a bad bingo game with all the keywords and talking points, just waiting for the classic where they reference the political parties before they switched as an example. Yeah, well, PragerU, typically, they bring up really weird and empty, like, straw arguments. And, this kind of video, he's just saying this shit. You know what I'm saying? He's, like, just saying things. He's like, college students were bored, and they didn't say thank you to mom and dad for paying for their college. Like, wait, are you sure? What do you mean? What do you fucking mean? First of all, like, rhetorically, that sounds good for the point, but it doesn't make any fucking sense to bring that up when you're trying to, like, inform anyone of any real information. But that's Dinesh D'Souza. The guy's a fucking piece of garbage. He's the one that tweeted, like, the picture of Greta Thunberg with comparing her to some, like, Hitler Youth thing because they both had, like, braids. Like, he's just a festering piece of shit. And he says really cool shit all the time.
Gratification. Of course, as with all successful social movements, timing was critical. Here, Marcuse was very fortunate. The 60s was the decade of the Vietnam War. Students faced the prospect of being drafted. Thus, they had selfish reasons to oppose the conflict. Marcuse and his acolytes turned this selfishness into righteousness by teaching the students that they weren't draft dodgers, they were noble resistors who were part of a global struggle for social justice. Marcuse portrayed Ho Chi Minh and the Viet Cong as a kind of third world proletariat, fighting to free themselves from American imperialism.
You gotta be fucking shitting me, dude. Holy fuck. Oh my god, dude. He's scolding people for not wanting to go to war. Isn't, like, big time arguments from his camp like, if you want free college, just sign up for the army or whatever? Like, Dude, this is fucking awesome. I take it back everything I said. Dinesh D'Souza fucking rocks. I hope one day we find out he's doing some kind of Andy Kaufman thing. It's like, holy fuck. There's no way. He's so good at it, though. He's like Tucker Carlson, really. As far as the grift goes. Like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was that little segment there?
This represented a transposition of Marxist categories. The new working class were the Vietnamese freedom fighters. The evil capitalists were American soldiers serving on behalf of the American government.
True. I mean, the soldiers themselves weren't the capitalists, you see. They were just forced into doing the capitalism conquest thing. You know, ask any of them that were in that war how they felt about it, I guess, D'Souza, you know? I mean, I certainly wasn't there, but I definitely have heard most of them didn't really think it was a fucking good idea either afterwards, turns out. Weird.
Marcuse found, in addition to the students, other groups ripe for the taking. The first was the Black Power movement, which was a militant adjunct to the civil rights movement. The beauty of this group, from Marcuse's point of view, was that unlike white students, its members wouldn't have to be instructed in the art of grievance. Blacks had grievances that dated back centuries. Through another Marxist transposition, blacks would become the working class, whites the capitalist class. Race, in this analysis, took the place of class.
Okay, I got a question for D'Souza and anybody who thinks that he's correct about this. What about people who haven't been to fucking college coming up to these conclusions on their own? Like, I may have pulled the Jenga block out of the bottom of the entire video here prematurely, but like, he acts like this shit is, it's easy to tell your audience that it's all college students or whatever, but like, we can't afford college, dog. And like, they're certainly not smuggling books, $400 fucking loose leaf paper that's shrink wrapped, written by the professor of the course that you're attending, like to teach each other on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is this?
Another emerging source of disgruntlement was the feminists. Marcuse recognized they too could be taught.
Oh my fucking God, dude.
To see themselves as an oppressed class. This, of course, would require a further Marxist transposition. Women would now be viewed as the working class and men the capitalist class. The class category would now be shifted to gender.
Dude, how many women were like head of household earners in the 60s, I wonder? I wonder where that idea must have come from. If it's certainly nowhere else other than just an indoctrination by one fucking guy.
Marcuse recognized that educating and mobilizing all these groups, the bored students, the aggrieved blacks, and the angry feminists, would take time. But he wasn't in a hurry. Soon enough, the radical students would be the radical professors, teaching identity socialism.
So they did it on their own? What the fuck do you mean?
To a fresh crop of impressionable recruits. Over time, Marcuse believed the university could produce a new type of culture, and that culture would then spill into the larger society to infect primary education, the news media, and entertainment. Even big business, the hated capitalist class itself, would succumb. He was right.
Succumb. Do we need to look up the definition? Because we can. I'm going to read it out loud. Fail to resist pressure, temptation, or some other negative force. Like, or die from the effect of a disease or injury. You know what I mean? Capitalism is still capitalizing, my guy. Big corporations are still big corporation, and nothing fucking stopped them. They didn't succumb to shit. I mean, goddamn. I guess unless you ask all the people that were upset about the Potato Head brand change, because like, yeah, sure, I guess. I don't know.
Identity socialism has arrived. I'm Dinesh D'Souza.
Oh, that's it. No, that's it. That's it. Didn't see that coming. I would never have guessed that's the end of the video. He didn't actually fucking explain anything. All he did was levy accusations against one individual of thinking a certain way, and then failing to even actually indoctrinate a generation of college students. Like, he literally said, oh, it would take time, but he didn't need time because the students would become the professors. They radicalized themselves, you see. Yeah. Well, I will give Abbott credit for one thing, because living here in Texas, a lot of people were real upset with him about the ice storm and everything that happened subsequently. And it's like he literally did flip a switch when he made the fucking announcement about the COVID regulations being pulled back. All of them are just clapping again. Like it's literally like that scene from yeah. It's literally like that scene from what do you call it? Family Guy, where Lois is just like 9/11 and everybody just cheers. He's like, no more masks, and everybody's like, oh. Like it was fucking crazy. They were so ready. They were calling for his head fucking a week ago. How quickly they forget. And it's funny how they busted out the fucking emergency socialism. It was a short but wild ride indeed. That's PragerU's videos in a nutshell. Luckily, we have another one. It's about school as well. I hope it's fucking D'Souza again, because holy shit, that dude. This dude. Woo. Yeah, capitalists are weird, especially the citizens here, like in Texas. With this whole thing, how come my chat's not working? Hold on. It should be on front of everything. Yeah, it's not showing up. Dang it. Oh, wait. Yeah, definitely. It definitely was a point, was to distract from his failures. Because, like, oh, there it is. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Because he fucking, well, and see, here's the problem, though, is that for these fucks, it's not really a failure, yeah. It's like, they know exactly what they're doing. He knows exactly what the fucking plan is. It's like, he knew that when something like this happened, like the snowstorm, that shit would go tits up. But he knew he you know, there's a certain amount of like, and maybe they couldn't even articulate it, but there's a certain amount of like knowledge of the fact that nobody's touching him. You know what I mean? He's not worried about it, like, at all, because he knows he doesn't have to, because he knows that his constituents are these type of just animals that don't think about anything critically for more than 10 seconds. And that's why anybody would ever say they're a fan of Greg Abbott. Like, if you look at the situation that the Texans are in, that were stuck with those high bills, where they go looking to the fucking government to bail them out. Suddenly, capitalism isn't the best system when supply and demand actually affects them. Isn't that weird? But when supply and demand is affecting their neighbor or someone else, they should have just been smarter. Shit. College, student loans is your own fault. Don't take out loans if you can't pay them back. Like, that's the argument, right? How about don't buy wholesale electricity if you're not ready to get fucked by wholesale prices? But no, we break the glass for the emergency socialism whenever capitalism is in trouble. It's almost like we could find a way to marry the two systems that wasn't, you know, like free stuff for everybody that they didn't need, and also like, yeah, I guess if you want to work hard and get rich, you can. You know what I'm saying? Like a sort of not self-defeating or toxic capitalism. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I wish I knew why my phone was doing this. It's showing me the same notification over and over again, and I'm going to punch it. I wish my little shortcut thingus was working, but I reinstalled Windows to make everything stop crashing. Did everybody get booted out? Oh, cool. Looks like my bandwidth dropped again. Oh, well. Where the fuck did it go, dude? Okay, there we go. It's moving my stuff around. All right, so this other one is called "What Are Your Kids Learning in School?" And I believe it's going to attempt. When you say paused, do you mean like buffering or something? Because I'm showing that it looks that my data is at a nice smoothened stream. Like laminar flow.
What's happening in our schools? Colleges have become leftist indoctrination centers.
This is gonna be good.
It's not a new problem. It's been going on for decades, first behind the scenes and now out front. That's how radical change happens. It creeps up on us. And when we finally figure out what's going on, it's too late. What's been happening on college campuses is now happening in elementary schools and high schools.
Yeah, totally, dude. Totally, dude. Absolutely. You see, radical change creeps up slowly. It never, ever is the case that people talk about it for a very long time and it goes ignored and unchecked for a very long time, and then it sort of simmers and visibly boils more and more violently, and then it boils over, and then you have to deal with it, and that's when it shows up. That's not it. Definitely not. It's definitely that it's definitely a long, coordinated, extremely statistically improbable, nay, impossible conspiracy, wherein all institutions of education, despite their numerous ties, handshakes, and hobnobbing with the government for various programs that allow them to become offensively wealthy through their education. Despite all of that, yes, it is a coordinated conspiracy by the left. That's definitely what's happening.
I know. I'm a mom of 2 school-aged kids. I've seen it with my own eyes. More and more parents are seeing it too. Thanks to the lockdowns and Zoom, we're getting a window into our children's classes. It's not a pretty picture.
You are not.
Kids, really young kids, are being taught stuff so radical, so devoid of what real education is, it should alarm us all. Here are a few examples. Recently, Chicago Public Schools adopted an American history curriculum based on the 1619 Project published and promoted by the New York Times. The 1619 Project asserts that America's founding was not marked by the Declaration of Independence in 1776, but the arrival of the first African slaves in Jamestown in 1619. Historians from across the political spectrum have denounced this as a giant lie. The New York Times has walked back many of the project's original claims. Still, this malicious slander of America is now being taught in schools as truth. And what is that?
I mean, like, regardless of the weird fucking way that they did, because that is indeed, I will agree with PragerU or anybody that that's a weird, like, I know what they were saying, but that is definitely a weird sort of way to try to phrase that. But like, what is slander for 1,000, Alex? Like, what? What? Like, actually, black people are largely responsible for, like, what actually is America these days. You slanderous, traitorous fiend. Like, could you chill, though? What the fuck do you mean it's slander? Like, malicious slander. Actually, the guys who owned slaves and sent a bunch of people to fucking wars and shit. I don't know. I don't get the attachment to that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it feels real good to just purge things. You get rid of, you know what I mean? I feel like anybody who has a website with like the word mom in it, like she does, aren't they usually about like cleansing and shit? Wouldn't it feel good to just dust off the tops of the useless little decorative nooks and shit you have in your suburban home with scooting all that shit out the door in terms of like what the bad history that we have with the country? Wouldn't it feel good to bring it to the light so you can see it, take inventory? No, you're right. It's way better to just keep jamming it down and acting like everybody else is attacking you when they bring it up. That's probably, we could, as a country, I think we can probably do this forever. There will never be a negative consequence of this sentiment that she's expressing right now.
That truth? That America is, was, and always has been a fundamentally racist country, and that white Americans today bear responsibility for all current and historic racism.
I mean, responsibility for their own perpetuation of it, yeah. Which I guess you could argue is responsibility for current racism. But I mean, what's the alternative? That nobody has to take responsibility for it? I mean, I know what they're saying. Their argument assumes that racism is just a dude in a KKK hood yelling the N-word at a traffic intersection or something. You know what I'm saying? That's their denial of the problem here. So there's really no point in even trying to step into the shitty waters in which they wade to scoop up the muck from the bottom of the swamp for these arguments. They just take a bunch of shitty fish poop mud, make it into a snowman, and they're like, this is real. A person. It's a real person. And then they get mad at you when you try to point out, like, that's not a real person. It's mud. Are you okay? Is everything all right at home? How's the divorce going?
This bleeds perfectly into another educational debacle: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, this might sound innocent, but don't be fooled. It's a dangerous euphemism for something called critical race theory. Critical race theory says that racism is woven into the very fabric of American society. What does this look like in a school setting? Middle and high school students in Wellesley, Massachusetts, are being taught to be on the lookout for unconscious racial bias in their classmates. We need your help, an email to students reads. Your school leaders will be working with you this year on how to be proactive about preventing bias incidents and how to report them should they occur. This warped vision of America doesn't stop at race.
Well, look, a couple of things with this. Maybe asking kids to be like a narc isn't great, but I feel like there should be some measure of like introducing children to accountability. Yeah, don't discriminate against my discrimination. You will not infringe upon my right to infringe upon other people's rights. Do you understand? This is America. We don't do that shit here. Maybe you could just leave if you don't like it. You can go to one of them socialist countries where they're not allowed to discriminate against anybody. If you don't like the way I discriminate against you, you are free to do that. You're free to escape oppression if you want. But if that's your idea of freedom, this is why we got to defund schools. Give all that money to the cops. Shit. Oh, wait. This is really difficult without my shortcuts.
First graders are being taught that...
But, what I was saying. So I'm going to rewind this real quick, just so I don't talk over that part. As far as acknowledging racial bias, unconscious bias, like, imagine thinking that introducing children to concepts was bad in the first place. Like, the alternative is we just pretend the shit doesn't ever happen. You know what I mean? Like, they act like everything that happens at, like, okay, they don't give any money to schools. I say they, like Republicans, right-wingers, conservatives, whatever you want to call them. They don't ever want to give any money to schools, but they also want schools not to roll out any curriculum unless there will never be a problem with it. But, like, you can't do both. Unless you want to start funding a whole lot more, like, for research and shit like that, and, like, maybe staff an entire group of people that isn't up to each school to hire to, like, allocate some taxes to it. Maybe we already do this to a degree, but how about we have some kind of authors of the curriculum? You know what I mean? They want it to be ignored, period, and it makes it go away. Yeah, well, definitely. That's their whole thing. That's why you can't argue with these fucks, is because they'll start talking about shit like this, and then you bring up examples, and they're just like, well, this is, systemic racism isn't real. I don't have a white privilege card. Like, yeah, all right, man, cool. You get it. You're right. This thing that you've been thinking about because you've been forced to for, like, I don't know, 6 months, you know everything fucking about it. Definitely. Because you watch these 5-minute shitty videos on YouTube with a bunch of right-wing grifters tell you that they're teaching kids how to be gay socialists. God forbid.
First graders are being taught that just because someone looks like a boy doesn't mean they are. Only they
Based.
can know who they truly are. Gender is something they choose for themselves, based on how masculine or feminine they feel. Or maybe they're not fully a boy or a girl, but something in between, whatever that may be.
So I like that they actually quoted the lesson. Like she's actually, how do you say this shit out loud and not even be inclined to be like, well, maybe they got something there. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck, dude?
To repeat, that's what children...
To repeat, if I wasn't clear the first time, I'm actually the wife of a U.S. Marine. This is the vibe she's giving off right now. To repeat. Like, don't ever say that to me again, whatever your name is. Don't say it to anybody, but don't say it to me. If you ever say the words, to repeat, because I have a blank stare when you're trying to explain something that you think is ridiculous, that isn't ridiculous, don't repeat yourself. Life hacks with Squirrely.
Children are taught in first grade. Imagine what they're taught in second or third grade.
Yes, because this is exactly how education works. It only just ramps up.
And, of course, the world faces imminent disaster from global warming. The American Federation of Teachers has fully endorsed the most radical aspects of the Green New Deal, which is already featured in California school curriculums.
How, without conditioning to conform to social norms, how will those kids get out of bed in the morning? Yeah, I know, right? Like, if we don't make them, if we don't teach them that the things that they feel aren't good, and we sort of encourage a system that makes them feel ostracized and we just lean into things that bully those kids, how are they supposed to grow up to be extremely unhappy adults that can't focus on anything except for other people's needs, somehow meaning that if they need something, then I don't have less if they need something, but I don't want them to need something. God damn it. How are we going to get great examples of fucking productive and contributory members of society like Dinesh D'Souza and this woman if we don't teach these kids that everything they feel is bad and wrong? Oh, yo, what's up? Thank you for the raid. We are doing the Yo, thank you for the follow. I'm just saying. Zallyric, I don't know how to say it. Flood the screen with all the ghosts. I'm just saying. Luna, thank you for the follow. All the ghosts. The little marshmallow ghosts. They look like marshmallows that would be in cereal. I'm just saying. Alyssa, thank you for the follow. I'd never get tired of seeing this hot dog guy shoot these hot dogs into his throat. Hell yeah. Lunar High Lunatic, thank you for the follow. We are currently watching. Yeah, or what was the one? Lucky Charms or something, you know? It's good stuff. We're currently watching. Who is the guest star in this? I don't even remember. She owns a website, but she's talking about how in school they're basically teaching everybody how to be gay socialists, and offensively they're not teaching kids that any sort of anything about their gender that doesn't feel exactly like it has been for the past 100 years is extremely wrong. They're not teaching kids that. So obviously we need to do something about this. They're also lying about pollution and global warming being real. God dang left-wing socialists. Yeah, for sure. And it was funny. It was the one time I actually saw them quote an argument for real, and still didn't click with them, I guess.
In sum, many of our schools are teaching children that our past is terrible and that they have no future. That if they are white, they are racist whether they know it or not. If they're black, they're victims, whether they experience it or not. That they should constantly question their sexual identity.
Just based stuff, but she's saying it in a way that's just not. She's like, but like, I mean, you know, why are you acting like this is wrong? They should do these things.
With all this being drummed into their heads, No wonder today's kids have more
Yeah.
psychological problems
You are,
than
Maple. Thank you
any
for it.
previous generation. Maybe you think I'm cherry-picking examples to exaggerate my point. Or maybe you're one of the lucky ones who sends your kids to a school that has yet to be infected by this radical agenda. Maybe. But if I were you...
Oh, she doesn't even realize it. She doesn't even realize what she just implied. Maybe you're lucky enough to have sent your kids to a private or charter school. They're nuts, dude. No, Zal, apparently, and this is according to PragerU, and so obviously they should be an authority on something. Oh, you see, they don't need to. I'm being sarcastic in case you don't pick it up. Just because I don't know you. I don't know. I don't want to be too good at being sarcastic. I agree. Like, she's saying these things as if it's bad, and I'm just like, what are you fucking... Yeah, we should do that. We should do that. We should do that. But no, they're saying it as if this is what's going to be the end of society. If we teach kids that, we teach kids about gender, and we teach them how to actually to have some sort of introspection and check everything out, look at things, and not just bottle up all of their emotions until it causes like some kind of fucking trauma when it boils over later in their life, that this is the infection of radical leftist socialism. I don't know.
I wouldn't take it on faith. Find out for yourself. When I did, I was shocked to learn that all of this is happening in my school district.
Yeah,
now.
I agree.
So find out what's being
100%.
taught in your kids' school. Take a good, hard look at curricula. Ask administrators if they endorse the 1619 project.
Everything needs to be discussed I don't know what their alternative is, because they're big mad about, she's like, with the racist stuff too. She was saying, and they're teaching kids that this country was founded on, that racism is interwoven into the fabric of society and all this. And it's like, yeah, dog. Like it doesn't even sound, even if you don't believe it, she's still phrasing it in a way that like would make a normal person want to ask a question. But like these videos, I don't think are made for people that have any sort of firm stance on anything. It's clearly made to like absolutely seize and sink their barbs into people who are just like vulnerable as shit to this type of manipulation.
Are they pushing a diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda? If so, demand to see what materials the school is using. At a minimum, get to know your kids' teachers and principals. Join the PTA, attend local school board meetings, look for allies among reasonable, like-minded parents.
Except for that last part, you don't need allies, dog. Go get your PTA. Join the PTA. Abso-fucking-lutely. This allies shit is what's causing their perceived division. The reason nobody fucking likes you, Karen, is because you find allies. You think there's a fucking war to be fought at the PTA over your child learning that maybe, that maybe, yes, the guy who blew himself up at a gender reveal party was doing something extremely dumb. Yeah, echo chamber. Build an echo chamber. Like that's, dude. Dude.
You don't have to agree with each other on everything. You just have to agree that the brainwashing of our children stops here. Stops now.
I demand it. I need to speak to the manager of our children. That ought to be you, Karen.
Americans know what our children should be learning. That they must take responsibility for their conduct. That race is the least important aspect of another person. That hard work and rational thought are things we all value. That there is nothing wrong with the bodies they were born into. And
I mean, they're so fucking close. They're so fucking close, dude. Oh my God, they're so close. Yo, what's up? Lady of the pizza. How are you doing tonight? Yeah. Yeah, there's that, and then there's also I'm sure it was concerning the gender stuff, but it's like what there's nothing wrong with the bodies they were born into, because people like her think that the perspective is that everybody else always feels like they do, like someone like her. That she thinks that everybody always feels like that all the time, and then it takes another person to convince them that they feel differently about their bodies. It's like they say it out loud. They say it out loud and they don't get it. Like, yeah, exactly. Teach them or ask them. Ask them. You know, maybe what a radical idea. If a lot of kids have this thing where they don't feel comfortable with any aspect of themselves, maybe talk about it. Try to talk about it. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that there's people with degrees that know more about this shit than me, but I feel like acting as if addressing it is some kind of leftist socialist agenda that's going to ruin the country is, I'm going to guess, my money's on probably not healthy. You know, it's like they missed the point so fucking hard that all the people they're accusing of doing these things were also raised by people. Like in the last video, Dinesh D'Souza was like accusing one guy of engineering the whole leftist takeover of the fucking country or whatever. And he was like, he goes, well, he realized it was going to take time to do this, but he didn't have to wait because the students grew up to be professors or radical professors. And it's like, yeah. So is this still indoctrination? They did it to themselves. Like, imagine radicalizing yourself. Imagine not radicalizing yourself. Yeah, generational hazing. I was repressed and unhappy, so should you. Yeah, that's the American dream, isn't it? Is being extremely unhappy with everything and not and like not only that, but as soon as somebody questions it, you have to attack, you have to accuse them. It's taking it personally 101 is homeroom. Like, if anybody else has an idea that's different than yours about this kind of thing, they're definitely doing it to fuck you over. It has nothing to do, you are their main character too, you see, and they don't have a life when you're not watching. They just go in the corner and recharge. And then as soon as you come in, they're like, gender isn't real. And you're indoctrinated. That's how it happens. I've seen it.
And that America was founded not to promote racism, but to guarantee sacred liberties and opportunities to its citizens. And it wouldn't hurt if they learned reading and writing and math, too. I'm Jill Simonian.
Zing! Jill Simonian's funny. Yeah, a great teacher is also a great learner. That's a good point, indeed. Very good point. It's like that's when you look at the definition of the words progressive and conservative, you know what I mean? It's right there. It's on the box. Like what your party stands for. And like the notion that you can look at everything to be completely conservative and think that that's just going to work forever. Nothing needs to change. But these people also are the ones always talking about how capitalism adapts. So like, you know, which is it? They hate capitalism. You can't convince me that conservatives actually like capitalism. It's like they like the idea of capitalism, but it's like a dog chasing a fucking car. Once they actually catch the thing, they don't know what to do with it because they're like, oh shit, this stuff's pretty hot. Watch your hands. You know what I mean? Like they always need to tiptoe around it and shit. The meat on the bone of capitalism. But they don't realize it. Like they stare it right in the face and act like that's not what's happening. It's fucking crazy to me. Absolutely crazy, dude.